Don't miss the awesome Naruto stories my sister creates. Her last channel was hacked, so to stay in the loop, please subscribe to her new channel. It would mean a lot to her, and you won't regret it. Hello to all lovers of lemon scenes. I invite you all to my boosty so you can watch your favorite Naruto What If stories in complete comfort. A subscription to Naruto Lemon, the first video with a full lemon, is already on my boosty channel. Dare! Naruto's POV. Hello everyone. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I am 13 years old. I'm a Konoha Sannin, but to the villagers I'm still a monster. Until I was 4 years old, I couldn't understand why people in the village called me a monster, and then I met Kurama. It wasn't the most pleasant meeting. Flashback. I was running from a couple of drunken shinobi who called me a monster. I ran and ran until I was driven into a dead end. Well, monster, did you get there? Aha, you will pay back for the lives you took. I couldn't understand anything. Whose lives? When did you take it? But no one was going to listen to me, of course. They beat me, and I tried not to make a sound. In the end, I lost consciousness from painful shock. That's when I met Kyubi. He told me that he would kill me and break free, and that he would destroy the entire shinobi world. I kept listening to his threats, and it seemed to me that he was very offended by all of them. I felt that I could trust him, and I told him my story. And Kurama told me everything about me, who my parents were, and why they call me a monster. It was all because of him, but I didn't consider this fox a monster. End of flashback. I had to face my demon for a long time to win his favor. I'm glad that the fox agreed to teach me to write, read, and count. I liked learning something new from him. He was my only friend with whom I felt at ease. He was the only one who would listen to me. Then Kyubi began to teach me how to use shinobi techniques. At first nothing worked, as they say, the first thing was lumpy. So it is with me. And then I found out his name, Kurama. It's a beautiful name, isn't it? So, I learned to use my chakra. At 5 I entered a shinobi school, although before that I had to persuade the third for a long time. It took me a year to master the entire school curriculum, and at 6 I became a genin. The attitude towards me has not changed. They also call me a demon, but there are some who call me a genius. But I didn't care about the opinions of others. The main thing is that Kurama is happy with me. That same year, our team mentor sent us to the Chunin exam. Only I reached the finals. I managed to win. Ku sarcastically commented on my victory, but even in those words one could hear joy. I also signed a summoning contract with Werfoxes. It was a very unexpected meeting. Flashback. Naruto, you can already use chakra quite well, so I suggest you find out what your summon is, the fox said phlegmatically. Okay, but how? I asked. You will use the reverse call. How is this? I asked. He slowly explained to me what was what, and told me to form the seals without using chakra, and after his approving grunt, I began to perform the reverse call. And it so happened that I ended up in the village with the foxes. Ku was surprised by the result. At first they looked at me with disdain, but then one of them approached me, thereby showing that I was not dangerous. That little fox introduced himself as Kuro. Well, what a cute name. Their leader conducted a check, and then agreed to sign a contract between me and their village. I became very attached to my draft animals, so I often visited them. Thanks to their help, I improved my skills. They were all very kind to me. They helped me with everything, and I opened up to them. We are friends now. End of flashback. So, when I became a Chunin, I had more responsibilities, but I didn't complain. I liked my position in the village. This went on for a year. A year of my quiet life. And then all hell broke loose. Danzo, one of the elders, decided that I was strong enough, so he proposed my candidacy for a place in ANBU. The others supported his idea, especially since keeping Jinchuriki on a short leash is very profitable. This way they can make sure that I haven't decided to betray the village. This went on for a long time. After joining, the ANBU members saw me off with whispers or laughter. On my first day, they asked if I was lost, and in general, that I should be at school, and they started laughing. So, the first year I was just a student, I was not allowed anywhere from the headquarters, I was taught all the intricacies of the profession, etc. and so on. At 8, I went on my first mission as an ANBU. Since I am just a beginner, I was not given complex tasks, just simple ones, like surveillance. After a while, the guys took me with them on a group elimination mission. Our captain did not expect that a group of robbers would have security in the form of a pair of Chunin-level nuke nin. The battle was not long, and the task was completed. On the way back, an ambush awaited us in the form of assistance to the group that we had just destroyed. I warned the captain that there was an ambush ahead, but he just waved me off. That's the result. I was right, so I launched a couple of Senbon in that direction in advance, killing the robbers. You are probably wondering how I found out about the ambush? Yes, everything is as simple as 2 and 2. Kurama taught me the art of censor, and that's how I learned about the ambush. Subsequent tasks followed the same scenario. They came, completed the task, and set off on their way back. If there were wounded, we stayed overnight in the nearest village. I also went on missions alone. On my 9th birthday, I myself became a captain, and when I went for my next task to the Hokage, I accidentally overheard a conversation between the elders, from which I realized that it was because of the elders that I became an orphan. I swore that I would destroy these bastards. I spent 3 months developing the plan, and one fine day the elders died for no apparent reason. You deserve it. So that's where I ended up. Oh yes, that I became an ANBU captain. On my 9th birthday, when the Hokage summoned me, I was a little surprised. It seems like I didn't mess up anywhere, all the reports were submitted, I didn't take any missions. It was with these thoughts that I knocked on the door of the village head's office. Having heard permission, I went into the office. Did you call, Hokage-sama? I began. I called. The old man nodded positively, with a suspicious smile on half his face. From today, you, Uzumaki Naruto, have been appointed to the post of ANBU commander. Hiruzen solemnly announced. Do I need to say how shocked I was after the old man's phrase? No, that's fine. I still wouldn't be able to describe that state. After the meaning of the head's words dawned on me, I smiled and rushed to hug the Hokage, thanking him for the wonderful birthday gift. To my gratitude he replied. There is nothing to thank me for. Say thank you to your comrades, they were the ones who burst into my office with such a request. I didn't mind, because I appreciated your abilities. Maybe a little later, when you would have gained a little more experience, then you would, but your commander said that you are very capable and he himself would not mind serving under such principles. I thanked all the ANBU for the gift. It was my happiest birthday. For the first time I felt needed by someone. The guys were constantly arguing about who I would go on a mission with, since it was an honor to be led by a Jinchuriki. My team included Itachi, Kapi Kakashi, and Shursui Uchiha. To put it simply, everyone was with me on missions. Sometimes I went alone. During my ANBU career, there has never been a single failed mission. While I was captain, I killed these old senile people. I also learned from Itachi that his clan was planning a coup, and he asked me to talk to the clan to solve this problem. As a result, at first they didn't take me seriously, despite the fact that I was in ANBU uniform, thinking that I was fooling around like that, and they tried to show me out the door. As a result of this attempt, a couple of meeting participants were injured. I simply broke their bones. So what? Don't make me angry, otherwise I'll become like my mother when she's angry. They did listen to me, but first I introduced myself, and under the pressure of my arguments, they had to reconsider their plans and generally change their attitude towards the village. Everyone was pleased with the results of my intervention. The Uchiha clan was not slaughtered, and their attitude towards the village became more loyal. I became a frequent visitor to their clan's territory, often just to pick Itachi up for his next mission. Gradually, everyone got used to my presence on their territory, and began to treat me the same way as the ANBU members. I remember that Shursui once attacked me because I hadn't shown up on the horizon for a long time, and when he found out that I was on a mission, he began asking questions on the topic: how did the mission go? And how dissatisfied Fugaku-sama was that same day. Brrr. I don't even want to remember. Good guys in the Uchiha clan. There was a case when I came home from a mission half dead. Alan, a good guy, was waiting for me at the gate then. But I'll never forget his lecture on the topic: how important it is to be careful on missions, and it's better to take someone with you, and I don't care if they're single. In general, then no one began to listen to me, and instead of taking me to the Konoha hospital, he brought me to the building of the clan doctors, justifying his actions with a simple phrase: Uchihas trust only Uchihas, you are exceptions, although it always scared me. So they also said it in such a tone, as if I was not an Uzumaki, but an Uchiha. Replaying this phrase in my head, and knowing Uncle Fugaku's determination, I have no doubt that this will happen. I became very attached to everyone, they are my family. When I have days off, I spend them with the clan children, looking after them and playing with them. I like it. So 2 happy years passed, and then I was appointed jonin, and sent along with the sanins of the village for training, and no one listened to my objections. But it did me good. Tsunade taught me her techniques, like a medical ninja, and also taught me all sorts of tricks. As a result, I have a seal on my forehead, like an old lady, in which my chakra accumulates, just in case. Jiraiya taught me my father's technique, Rasengan, the art of the hermit, although he is a toad, and I am a fox, at least that's what the sanins called my hermit mode. While I was in the homeland of my summoned animals, I learned to wield a sword, learned many elemental techniques and learned to combine the elements with each other to increase the power of the technique, and improve my father's technique. In general, I learned a lot this year. Oh yes, I forgot to say, while we were traveling we found scrolls of my clans, Namikaze and Uzumaki. Learned how to create stamps. And she became a master, as the clan masters themselves, whom we accidentally met, said. I also learned that I am still a genius, and I absorb all knowledge like a sponge. So, I returned to the village a year later, became a sannin, on par with Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochimaru. Yes, I don't hide it, I thought that he either died or betrayed the village, but it turned out that he was simply on a long mission, and that he would not betray it, since his family lives here. Family. No, can you imagine, the snake has a son and 2 daughters? Now, if someone had told me this, I would have simply twirled my finger at my temple. And now this is how it turned out. So, as a sannin, I carried out the task more and more often, and visited the Uchihas less and less. The result of such running around on assignments, the Uchiha, consisting of 7 people, burst into the Hokage's office when I was giving the next report, beat him out of my leave for a week, and asked to make me captain of the genin when they graduate. Sarutobi gave the go-ahead. This week I slept and spent time with the Uchihas. The young Uchiha, who had not met me before on the territory of their clan, were very outraged by my presence. Who among the living Uchihas doesn't know me? That's right, students of the Shinobi Academy. They were indignant, tried to escort them out of their possessions, and I. What about me? I just looked at them in bewilderment, hiding my laughter, but the adults, on the contrary, laughed without hesitation. Back then, Itachi and Shursui were walking by as a couple. During my vacation, the students also started their holidays, so they came earlier than I expected, but still. So, about a couple of bastards who came to stare at a gathering of young shinobi. They just stood and watched as the students tried to be indignant. And I was just trying to put on a calm face, and in general it was like I wasn't here and I had nothing to do with it. They laughed, so much so that 10 minutes after their arrival, our couple was already rolling on the ground with hysterical laughter, especially from the behavior of Itachi's younger brother, Sasuke. He supported his comrades, not understanding the behavior of his clanmates. Shursui explained everything to them, having calmed down a little. "Ahaha, guys, this is useless, ha ha ha. Fu, I can't, you killed me." Fugaku-sama allowed her to be here whenever she wanted. And in general, all questions to the head. So they dragged me to the head. "Father, please explain, what is she doing here? I don't remember you allowing a demon to be here." "Itachi, Shursui, didn't you tell them anything?" the uncle asked with sparkles of laughter. "Well, first of all, not to the demon, but to Naruto. And secondly, I actually allowed her to be here." "Uncle Fugaku." I hissed. "DD uncle," they asked in unison, and everyone who was in the know began to bend in half again. "What is it, Naruchan? You promised to tell them everything, but from their behavior it was clear that they were in the dark all this time." Damn, how difficult it is with you Uchihas. First, negotiations with a disdainful attitude, then your gradual getting used to my presence nearby, then you don't even want guardianship that I can't even go on a mission, and now you have to explain yourself to the schoolboy, and everything like that. I mumbled under my breath, and Fugaku, the infection, also grins. "Well, that's right, you didn't warn us about your task, we started to worry, everything is quite natural for a family. Do you remember the incident when Alan dragged you along? We told you, Uchihas trust only Uchihas, you are an exception, although. That's your common though, it's always bothered me. I don't have to report to you for every step I take." I flared up. Our pack then continued for a long time, and surprised students watched us. Well, nothing terrible happened. Gradually I found an approach to them. While they were on vacation, now there are more hemorrhoids. The Uchihas were everywhere so that, God forbid, I wouldn't get hurt. Well, somehow, in the company of the Uchihas and some of my closest ANBU friends, my 13th birthday passed. People in the village stopped shying away from me, and now they could talk to me quite calmly. As was discussed in the presence of the Uchiha, I was called to a meeting of teachers for graduating genin. "My dear shinobi," the old man began. "I gathered you here today to announce the composition of your teams." I didn't listen further, I just wasn't interested, but when they talked about me. 7th Team, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, Sai, Commander Uzumaki Naruto. And I passed out again, but at the end of the meeting. "Tomorrow you pick up your students from the academy at 9 in the morning. Questions? Hokage-sama, why did you make Naruto commander? She's only 13, and we know nothing about her abilities. She still has to study and study." Kurenai began to be indignant. About that, Kakashi began. About this. You see, even Kakashi agrees with us. Asuma picked up. Will you even learn to listen? Hataki asked phlegmatically. I'm actually not against her candidacy for the position of commander. But why? When I served in the ANBU, the privates almost stood in line to go on a mission with her, and this was considered very honorable. Somehow I also ended up on her team, and she was the captain. Naruto completes missions without loss. So she's more than worthy. Although she is young, she is not inferior to us in strength. All the assembled commanders were actively searching for their lower jaw, which was not going to return to its rightful place in the near future. And well, I was surprised too. Kakashi praised me, which happens, almost never happens. Any more questions? Asked the Hokage, and there was silence in response. That's great. Free, he commanded. As soon as I left the threshold of the office, they grabbed me under white arms and dragged me to the territory of the clan. So the most interesting thing is when I asked them to let me go, assuring that I would follow them, but how to drag me to Fugaku's office and then let me go, so please. Phew, they are beaches, I will leave them, but who will allow me to do this? So, they dragged me into my uncle's office, and 4 representatives of the Red-Eyed clan, namely Itachi, Shisui, Alan and Fugaku himself, sat and crushed their faces. All this is suspicious, oh how suspicious. Naruto, who's on your team? Asked the owner of the office. My butt senses that this is your work. And the face is so cunning, and its little eyes are withdrawn. It's definitely their doing. My team includes Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Sai. If there are no more questions, then I guess I'll go. I have to get up early tomorrow. I left and headed to my house. But before I walked away far enough, I heard from the office. Yes. I didn't make a mistake. So, since I have to be at the academy by 9, I got up at 7:30. Oh yes, you heard right, not an apartment, but a house on the clan's territory. While I was not in the village, they built it especially for me, and of course I am very happy. But damn. For what? This is not a rational waste of the clan's budget, but who will listen to me? Think correctly, no one ever. They said it's necessary, so it's necessary. This is how they justified their action to me. By the agreed upon time, I was standing outside the office door, and as soon as I entered, I took my students and left. No, I'll never forget the surprise on the genins' faces when a girl their age came into the office and said that she was the captain of the 7th team. I'm glad that Irika was not so surprised, but simply smiled and nodded at me in greeting. So, I picked up my team and headed to one of my favorite places in the village. It was the roof, but it doesn't matter, the main thing is that I like it there and the view from there is wonderful. As soon as we arrived at the place, I started a conversation. Hello guys. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. From today I am your captain. I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself. This is outrageous. Sakura began to scream. You look no older than us, so why do you think you're the captain of our team? If I weren't worthy of teaching, Hokage-sama wouldn't have put me in charge of you. If you are not satisfied with the commander in my person, then contact the head personally. I coldly announced. At least tell me how old you are. Sasuke asked. 13, I answered without a twinge of conscience. HAA? And what can you teach us? Sakura again inserted her 2 cents. At least how to address people above you in rank. Okay, I'll tell you a little about myself so you have an example. You already know what my name is and how old I am. I love my comrades and respect them very much. I don't like people who have no idea about themselves, but try to seem like a pound of earth. To put it simply, I can't stand upstarts. My goal? Most likely, to become Hokage, I finished thoughtfully. Now it's your turn. Ah, I recognized you, you're the same demon. What, did you decide to sneak into our ranks in order to destroy the village from the inside? Kurama in my subconscious from such a statement almost beats his head against the walls in hysterics, and I tried to remember the last time they called me by this nickname. Well, so be it, I'll tell you about myself, she began importantly. My name is Haruno Sakura, 13 years old. I love, glance at Sasuke. My dream, again glance at Sasuke. Clearly, the girl fell in love with him. Sai, 13 years old. I love to draw, I have no dreams. Yeah, it will be difficult with this guy. Uchiha Sasuke, 13 years old. I hate upstarts. I love my clan. I dream of surpassing my brother. Yes, brevity is everything. If only he knew that his brother's dream was to surpass me. I won't tell him about it. It was nice to meet you. I'm waiting for you tomorrow at training ground number 3. Bye. And I tried to get out of there quickly, but then. Naruto-chan, so that's where you were. The guys and I have been looking for you for almost an hour. Jai. Sure Sui, the only thing I missed here was you, I said quietly. Sure Sui, why did you forget here? I had to think through a retreat plan while Sasuke was talking to him, but that was not the case. Alan and Itachi also came, and they stood up so that I was surrounded. Okay, the last option remains. And again I was turned off. Alan noticed my frauds with reverse summoning seals, grabbing my hand. Naruto-chan, this won't work. You are coming with us. So, if he says so, and my uncle sent them for me, then things are bad. Maybe it's not that bad. In any case, I warned the guys, and as soon as I give the command, they will take us to their place. Okay, after Fox's words I calmed down a little. But they had impudent faces. While I was talking with Kyubi, they threw me onto Alan's shoulder, said goodbye to my team, and headed in a direction unknown to me. Unknown yet. Well, judge for yourself. I came tired from a mission. One of the Uchihas is guarding me at the gate, which leads to the fact that I get home by hand. I'm wounded. Again they drag me in their arms, and in such situations, when they have something I need to find out or take me somewhere, the Uchihas throw me on their shoulder and carry me. Although I don't really like the last one. And here the question arises, who is asking me? And no one asks my opinion. If they put me on the ground, I'll tell them everything. Tired of it. Here we are approaching one of the Konoha restaurants. They pulled me to my feet, and just as I was about to protest, the door was opened in front of me, and I heard the joyful cries of the Uchiha clan and the sound of an exploding firecracker. Do you know what they shouted? And this is what they shouted. Congratulations. With what? Where did I end up? Kuramushka, my dear, explain to me what is happening here. To be honest, I wasn't the only one who was in shock. There's the fox who hid in the corner of the cage and nervously sways from side to side, saying, I'll be good, I'll correct all my sins, just have mercy on me. Don't make a fool of yourself and don't show such Uchihas. No, can you imagine that? Kurama is in a nervous fit. I can't imagine what to do with such Uchihas. Good people, dispel the genjutsu, please. Wow, when I seemed to come to my senses, Fugaku explained to me that we were celebrating my appointment as the sensei of the 7th team, and also asked where we lost Sasuke, because he graduated from the academy, and he should also be congratulated. It was because of this question that Itachi went after his brother, and left me in the care of my relatives. In general, we celebrated until 11 o'clock at night, and then went home, since the owners of the holiday had to get up early for training tomorrow. We celebrated well, to say the least. And what about Kurama? He couldn't get away from what he saw until the morning. The next morning I was like a sleepy fly, so I was ungodly late. Thank you Dad for creating the flight of the Thunder God. She always helps me out in situations like this. Phew, looks like I'm not too late. My students stand and wait for me at the entrance to the training ground. We went in, and I began to explain the essence of the test. Your exam will be, I took out the bells. Take them away from me before noon. If you fail, you will go back to the academy. But there are only 2 bells. What will happen to the third? Sai asked. You're right, there are only 2 bells, and there are 3 of you. This means that one of you will go to the academy, and the rest will study with me, I answered. Actually, I was bluffing. I wanted to know how they would work as a team, and how they would act knowing that their comrade would return to the academy. Oh, they seem to have fallen for it. Let's start. I gave the go-ahead. Well done, everyone hid. How will you proceed next? So, behind that Sasuke tree, next to it, Sakura is sitting in the bushes, and on the opposite side of the clearing on the tree is Sai. Well, get to work, I'm looking forward to it. First they started throwing kunai and shuriken at me. How naive. Although, what did I expect from petty people? Only from school? Naru, don't forget that you are the same age as this little thing, the fox sarcastically commented on my thoughts. And he's right. We are the same age, but our strength levels are different. Okay. Let's follow them. They started attacking scatteredly, but there was no result, they didn't even scratch me. Oh, one of my traps worked. Let's go see. Well, Sakura got caught in the barrier. It won't be fun. I'm disappointed. No one was able to take the bells from me before the allotted time. They were exhausted, but I didn't care, I didn't even fight with half my strength. Listen, guys. Time is up, but I still have the bells. I will give a chance only to those who are worthy, in my opinion. It will be Uchiha Sasuke and Sai. You can continue your studies with me, or follow your friend to the academy. The choice is yours. I'll go get Sakura, said Sai. For what? You were given a chance, so why refuse it? I'll go after these idiots. Someone must look after them, Sasuke said arrogantly. You passed everything, well done. You were the first to pass my test. I congratulate you. Yes, they definitely fell into a stupor after my statement. Well, what did they want? I once watched Kakashi's check, and decided to check the newcomers the same way he did. Since I began to be appointed to the position of Genin Commander, this check has been working flawlessly. Oh yes, that was before I went on a trip with the Sanins. And now, the Uchihas just talked the head of the village out. This old man, how he infuriates me sometimes. Okay, for the first and last time I will be a Genin Commander. I'll go serve in the ANBU again, at least it's quiet there, and no one is picking on my brains. Almost. Well, so what? I was given command before you. I was younger when I was given the team for the first time. I didn't know at all how to check them, so I went to Hataka for advice. He talked about testing the fourth. Since then I have only used it. Before you, no one wanted to go back to the academy to get their comrades, and that's why they failed. How old were you then? Does the Uchiha stutter? Although, I made Itachi and Shursui nervous, so everything is fine. Probably 10 or 11 years before I left for training with the Sanins. As you understand, they did not pass. You are the second team of Genin. I'd rather not talk about the rest. Why is that? Sakura was indignant. Are you afraid that we will stop respecting you? So don't be afraid, we don't respect you anyway, she continued. Before I had time to open my mouth, an ANBU man in a cat mask landed behind me, saying, Naru-chan, have you freed yourself yet? Not yet, cat. My new students want to hear stories from my life. From your life, you say? Wait, I'll call the guys now, we want to listen too. Fine. Just call Fugaku, Itachi, Shursui and Elena, okay? He nodded and disappeared. Nothing, let's wait a little. I didn't have to wait long, after all, the cat quickly sent this news to the entire ANBU department, and even managed to drop by the Uchihas. To be precise, we waited for them for about half an hour. Well, I didn't think that stories from my life would attract so much attention, even the commanders of the newly minted Genin came. Most likely they learned from Hataki. Well, I do not mind. Well, let's get started then. Where to begin? Start with your childhood, Kakashi asked. Okay. As you all know, the people of our village disliked me all the time. They beat me until I lost consciousness, called me a demon, a monster and everything like that, and also blamed me for all their troubles. I didn't understand why they treated me this way, why they considered me a monster, forbade children to play with me, what I did to them to hate me so much. The beatings became more frequent only on my birthday. On October 10th, ordinary citizens and shinobi showered more and more blows on me, so on my birthday I always tried to stay out of their sight, so as not to get hurt again as usual. I sighed and sat down on the grass, continuing. I was lonely. I was wondering who my parents were and why they weren't around. And one day I came to the third with these questions. From him I learned that they were shinobi of our village, and on one of the missions they died while on duty. That's all. So you don't know who your parents are? Asked Fugaku. I know. I found out who my parents were when I was 4. Then I couldn't hide from the drunken crowd, and they beat me half to death, and I ended up in my subconscious. On my 4th birthday, I learned why I was considered a monster. And why? Asked Asuma. Because I am the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox demon. Then I met him live, albeit in the subconscious. He treated me. He constantly threatened to take over my body, but refused to answer my questions on principle. After a few months, he thawed out and at least answered simple everyday questions. He became my first friend, Kyubi, and told me who they were. Well, who? Most likely, such a stupid person like you has parents who are just as stupid. Well, this is Sakura. She can't recognize me. I wish I could keep quiet, Sakura. We couldn't take a single bell from her in 4 hours. She's pretty strong, thanks Sasuke, but I didn't even show everything I can do. I'll answer your question, Haruno. My parents were. I took a theatrical pause to stir up interest. Although, where to heat it up? I was often asked about my parents, but I changed the topic or remained silent. They were great shinobi of our village. Bloody Habanero, Uzumaki Kushina, aka the previous Jinchuriki in the 4th Hokage of Konoha, Namikaze Minato. That's who my parents are. A surprised breath passed through the rows, and Kakashi's eyes ran to his forehead. So, where did I stop there? And that's it, I remembered. Kyubi became a teacher for me in all areas. He taught me to write, read, count, and taught me the art of ninja. So, by the age of 5, I entered the academy, and at 6 I had already passed the genin exam. Again, they despised me, saying that I was an upstart without a clan or tribe. Since I have already learned not to react to such comments. What happened next? Itachi and Shursui asked in unison, and Alan simply nodded at this question. That same year I signed a contract with my draft animals. They turned out to be foxes. Kyubi was then very happy about this coincidence of circumstances. Then I became a chunin, winning the last stage of the exam. Enlisted in the ANBU. I was trained. Oh, I'll never forget the first day. I smiled warmly at the memories. Then the ANBU asked me if I was lost, and then they said that I had to be at the academy, otherwise the teacher would scold me. There was great laughter. And when the commander came up and explained everything to us, "Do you remember?" asked the cat. I remember. It was fun. And I'll never forget your birthday present either. What kind of gift? Asked Alan. I became a commander. The position is incredibly responsible, but I can boast that I coped with my job. No matter how many times the guys and I went on missions, everyone returned alive. Battered, but alive, while doing their job perfectly. Not a single failed mission, I said proudly. That's right, because I was your teacher. Ku said smugly. I worked as a commander for about a year, became a jonin, and the Hokage decided to test me as captain of a genin team. As I already said, before this year I spied Kakashi's test and decided to use it. The genin failed that year, and I sent them back to school. And then she left the village along with the great trinity of Konoha. During the year I learned a lot of new things for myself. I was taught the art of the hermit, medical techniques, and much more. Oh yes, Kyubi taught me Fuina. Uzumaki are unsurpassed masters of seals, and you, Sakura, by the way, were caught in a restraining barrier during training today. Well. What else can I tell you? After returning to the village, I became a Sannin, and at the request of some individuals, I looked at the Uchihas. Became your captain. True, I already managed to promise myself that I would no longer take command of the genin, and in general I'd rather return to my post in Anbu. But this cannot be accomplished yet, since you must become Chunin, and then I will only be free. Everyone looked at me with huge eyes. Well, I probably should have kept silent about my status on the shinobi career ladder. My tongue is my enemy, as they say. Afterwards, I told a bunch more funny stories from my short life, and turned to Itachi. Itachi, what is it? I'm disappointed in your brother. I thought he would be stronger. I didn't have any fun at all, you trained him poorly. He stands still and doesn't move from a dead point, as if he's waiting for a kick from someone. Do you know what his dream is? I smiled conspiratorially. Which one? Asked the intrigued Itachi. Not a mistake. Don't tell him. Sasuke shouted at me. He dreams of surpassing you, Itachi. I blurted out. Itachi laughed. Naruto, the younger Uchiha growled. Ahaha, Naruto-chan. At least we have the same dreams. Sasuke stared at his brother in surprise. Stupid little brother, judge for yourself. You dream of surpassing me, and I dream of surpassing my captain, Naruto. So it turns out that we dream about almost the same thing. We sat for some more time in similar cheerful conversations. I set a meeting time for tomorrow, and disappeared quickly, using my father's technique. I appeared in the Hokage's office, reported on the inspection, and went home. Over the next month, my team and I carried out the simplest D-rank missions. It was fun to watch my charges try to catch Tora. This cat will never get tired of running away from its owner. The quiet, peaceful days ended when my team announced that they wanted a more difficult mission. I spoke about my team's desire, and the old man agreed, giving us a mission of rank C. At that time, we did not yet suspect the real rank of the task that the third entrusted to us. The task was simple escort with protection from robbers. There doesn't seem to be anything unusual. Old man Tazuna was rude to us when we first met, saying, "What, will this little thing protect me?" So he was also completely drunk. Thanks to my Anbu self-control, I didn't lose my temper and start proving his conclusions false. Although, I was not the only one in this state. The Hokage's personal Anbu squad is on edge and ready to pounce on the customer at any moment. In general, after the essence of the task was explained to us, we agreed to meet in an hour at the gate. While the guys were getting ready, I managed to listen to the discontent of all the Anbu members. They were angry, saying, "How dare this old fart talk about you like that, Naruto-chan? Well, we'll show him." In short, I listened to a lot of angry speeches then. Thank God I didn't have to pack, because I always carry everything with me. At the appointed time, I stood at the gate, and next to me was a customer with a bottle of sake. The guys also soon arrived and we set off on a good journey. Before we had time to go far from the village, we were attacked by Chunin-level Nukanins. It was as easy as shelling pears for me to fight them off, but Sakura's nerves began to shake, because none of these green youths had ever been killed. In short, after this attack we learned that in fact the rank of this task was not lower than B, and maybe even a rank. At first I wanted to refuse and return back to the village, but Tazuna began to press for pity, so we continued the task. Damn, I should have dissuaded these idiots, but no, kind soul. I feel like I won't be bored. After the attack by the twin brothers, our path was calm. Well, a couple of times simple robbers attacked, but the guys dealt with them normally. We quickly got to the river itself, beyond which there was a land of fogs, but who said it would be so easy? Honestly, no one. Kurama also anticipates a good fight. We were attacked by Zabuza, the demon of bloody fog. He began to threaten and wave his huge sword left and right. In the very first minutes of the fight, Sakura and Tazuna lost consciousness. At least thanks to this, you won't have to worry about them. I installed a barrier around them, now I am calm about their safety. The fight was not very long, but Sasuke and Sai managed to get hurt, because they don't know how to follow orders. I had to dispel the clone that had fallen into the swordsman's trap. And I had to get down from the tree where I was hiding. Zabuza was taken away beaten by his partner, although he introduced himself as an ANBU from a village hidden in the mist. We crossed over after the battle without any problems, and we also got to the old man's house. There we met his grandson. A nasty fellow who doesn't listen to what more experienced people tell him. My team's training continued as usual. I made them climb trees. It was hilarious, especially when all the important Sasuke was unable to complete my task the first time. Sakura was the first to finish this training, and then the boys. They overcame the tree, but what about the water? Well, they took longer to deal with the water than I expected, but they still managed to cope with it. We took turns guarding the bridge builders, although while they were training, I was doing this job alone. Well, everything can't be quiet here, so our peace came to an end when Tazuna's house was attacked by Gato's people. Tracking them down was not a tricky task, since the unfortunate kidnappers left traces everywhere. We met them on the bridge. Zabuza and Haku were there, that's how the guy introduced himself when we met in the forest. Fight. In my opinion, nothing out of the ordinary happened. They attacked in groups, which was a given, since they were not shinobi. It's good that I managed to save both Zabuza and Haku. They are good guys, but they have lost their way due to some circumstances in their lives. Most likely there was a lot of betrayal and slander for things they did not do. To be honest, I saved these two by a miracle, and with the help of my red-haired friend. Thank him very much for this service. Well, that's where our mission ended. Later I found out that after Gato's death that village began to prosper. Glad to know that. What about those two? They were accepted into our village, albeit under my responsibility and the additional headache of increasing the number of shinobi in my team. I tried to object and send them to ANBU, to which I received the following answer. Uzumaki Naruto, we accepted the Nukniki into our village only because you vouched for them. They're on probation, so it's up to you to look after them. Is everything clear to you? So now I have 5 students on my conscience. With 5 students, the hemorrhoids increased exponentially. Sometimes it got to the point that I came to the Hokage residence in order to take a mission and get away as far as possible for a few days, and then I turned around and went home to drink a sedative. The Uchihas were very surprised at my condition. Naturally, the always cheerful little man suddenly fell into depression and shrank away from everyone. Fugaku began to fear for my condition, so he tried to find out everything from me, but I didn't answer a single question, trying to change the topic. In general, I urgently need to blow off steam on a mission, and the more difficult it is, the better. But let me tell you about my dear students. Uchiha Sasuke. A thorn in one place. Never listens to anyone. When I tried to give him advice about training, he told me, I don't need your help. You yourself know practically nothing and cannot know. The clanless girl has nothing to teach me. And then he turned around and walked away, raising his chin arrogantly. His heroic adventures did not end there. He tried to teach me, and got punched in the nose, since what he wanted to teach me was at the level of a primary school student, which for me was a past stage. And this continued for more than one day. Sai and Sakura also approached Sasuke, who also tried to put me in a not very good light. It's good that Zabuza and Haku didn't interfere, because they knew how strong I was. If these 3 upstarts talked to older shinobi, they would learn a lot of interesting things. For example, the fact that my fame has spread to neighboring countries. Everyone respects me, and some even consider me to be the reincarnation of Hagoromo. So all these words of theirs are not justified and have no force in our world. Haruno Sakura. She only has the potential for Ireninjutsu, her chakra reserve is not large. And she does not belong to any clan. Her knowledge is certainly great, but she is still far from me. Chakra control is weak. Constantly trying to make me look bad in the eyes of my colleagues, quite unsuccessfully, it's worth noting. Sai. Danzo's henchman. Belonged to Root, which was disbanded after the death of this old man. His smiles irritate me to such an extent that I want to release the power of my brother so that true emotions will appear on his face. At the same time, hit those two too. Zabuza and Haku. This couple is the most unproblematic in the assembled company. They don't need to be monitored throughout the entire training session, you just need to tell them what they need to do today and that's it. I'll go on a mission after all. I'll send Sakura to Tsunade for training, Sasuke to Orochimaru, and Zabuza and Haku to Jiraiya, Sai, and let his former colleagues look after him, but who will allow me that? Sasuke's POV. Today the guys and I tried to humiliate our commander again. Naruto. She's so annoying. Father constantly says that an Uchiha can only trust an Uchiha, but... And Naruto became this notorious but. Everyone in the clan, young and old, treats her well, constantly responding to her indignation about their attitude towards her by saying, "The Uchihas trust only the Uchihas, you are an exception," although I do not understand them. How can they be so familiar with a clanless girl who can't really teach anything? Moreover, my father called me to his place today. Okay, the sooner I deal with this matter, the better. After dinner we went to the clan head's office. Shursui, Alan and Itachi were already there. "Sasuke, tell me, what's going on with Naruto?" asked the father. "Here we are again talking about her. Is there something wrong with her?" I started playing like a fool. "Ototo, don't play dumb, you know something. Naruto had never been so depressed. Let's lay it out." My brother's words really hurt me. "Brother, before I answer, tell me why she was appointed commander of our team?" I began to fuss. "She was made your captain at our request." "But why?" "It's very simple, Sasuke. For the most part, everything we know so far we learned from her. She's a good teacher," answered Shursui. "They always feared her, calling her a monster. If she had questions about anything, she dealt with everything herself, since everyone brushed her off, not wanting to have anything to do with her," Alan continued. "Moreover, she already told me this. Naruto became a genin at 6 while you were sitting at home and not blowing your mind. She mastered the school curriculum in a year, and her only advisor and teacher was the nine-tailed demon fox, whom she calls brother. Do you understand this?" asked brother. "But she's clanless. So why does everyone treat her so warmly?" I asked the question again. "She is not clanless. She is the harem of the Uzumaki clan. Specialists in seals of various purposes and degrees of complexity. I hope you didn't say that in front of her." This time the father answered. "I don't want to realize it, but compared to her, I'm just a green youth, incapable of anything. And as far as I know," Shursui said thoughtfully, "her fame has spread to the neighboring hidden villages." Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, then they gave her a nickname." Itachi picked up admiringly. "Bloody Titania," they said in unison. So stop. Bloody Titania. Is it really the same? No. This cannot be true. Lead Bloody Titania as the strongest shinobi alive. Uzumaki Naruto is really Bloody Titania? I decided to ask. "Yes, Naruto really is a Titania," answered the father. "So, we answered your questions, so you answer ours," objected Alan. "What's wrong with Naruchan?" Well, I hesitated. "Come on, spit it out, stupid Otuto." Itachi raised his voice. The guys and I decided to play a joke on her. What did you do? The suspicion in Shirsue's eyes scared me a little. We joked about her. I told her that she was a clanless girl who couldn't teach me anything. Then I started telling her about the techniques provided for in the school curriculum. Side did practically nothing to her, I listed thoughtfully. Sakura, as usual, lowered her below the baseboard, after which the three of us tried to lower her in the eyes of the older shinobi, but we only received chuckles and the phrase, "Captain, why did you take these students as students? Having been bewitched, you won't be able to teach them anything, you had to send them back to the academy." But Naruto simply shrugged it off or said that as soon as they become chunin, they won't take on any more genin. What else were we doing? I asked myself, but noticed that the longer I spoke, the gloomier those gathered became. "Oh yes, exactly," I exclaimed. They didn't listen to her instructions about training, for the most part they skipped them altogether, and if they did come, then after a couple of exercises they began to whine, plotted against her, and spread unflattering rumors about her. That's it. I finished. Now listen here, Sasuke. Tomorrow you and your henchmen will apologize to Naruto for everything you managed to do. Shisui barked. I won't apologize to anyone. I insisted. We'll see about that later, said the father. After this conversation, I went to my place, since tomorrow will be a busy day. End Sasuke's POV. Sasuke's POV. Today the guys and I decided to honor our captain with our presence at training. We met in front of our team's training ground, but Naruto wasn't there. Sakura assumed that Naruto was late, so we began to come up with dirty tricks for her when she deigned to appear. 15 minutes later Haku and Zabuza arrived, but she was still not there. Nope, that won't work. Why does she keep everyone waiting? But before I had time to be indignant at her behavior, a man appeared in front of us and said, "Guys, while the captain is not in the village, I will replace her. My name is Yamato, but for you Yamato Taishu. Is everything clear?" But his face is terrible. "Where is this undercaptain of our team?" asked Sakura. Did her nerves really shake in front of us? Ahaha, Sakura continued. Haku, we have to find out what happened to Naruto-sama, Zabuza began quietly, but I heard him. You're right, Zabuza-san, they answered him just as quietly, and then said louder in unison. Yamato Taishu, do you mind if we go away for a while? Where did you go in the middle of training? Asked the replacement. It's important for us to find out where Naruto-sama is, the two answered in unison. What about the rest? Aren't you wondering where she is? He asked us. It wouldn't be bad to know where she is, Sai said thoughtfully. Then it's decided, let's go to the Hokage's office, and then continue training. Our journey to the residence did not take much time, so literally 20 minutes later we were already standing in front of the office, waiting for permission to enter. Come in, was heard from the other side of the door. As soon as we entered, a picture of the head of the village, concerned about something, appeared before our eyes. Why did you come? Asked the third. Hokage-sama, tell me where Naruto-sensei is? Oh, this is unexpected, they recently addressed her differently, and now sensei. Okay, we'll deal with this later. Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto took an S-class mission last night, taking Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Shisui, and Kota with her. With this command she left the village yesterday. During her absence, she proposed Yamato's candidacy for the position of your commander. They should be back in a couple of weeks if there are no complications. So that's where Aniki and Shisui went. For a couple of weeks, but why didn't this idiot tell his team that he was leaving on a mission? Well, that's okay, we'll deal with problems as they arise. Now the problem was our training. As soon as we returned to the training ground, Yamato said, I'm not a captain who doesn't force anyone to show up for training, and doesn't share her knowledge and skills with those who are not interested. You will all show up for training, is that clear? We nodded. The captain was talking about your abilities, so, he began rummaging through his pouch, and then continued. Haku and Zabuza. Naruto Taicho left a list of exercises for you, as she was sure that you would not let them down. And the rest will do what I say. And for starters, 100 laps around the meadow. With these words, he began to bully himself as best he could. Sometimes Alan came to look at our suffering, and one day he asked, "Well, how do you like this kind of training?" We remained silent. But with Naruto-chan everything would be different. She is a good trainer, and now Yamato shows you through your own suffering how painful your words were to her, despite the fact that she has suffered insults since childhood and is accustomed to simply ignoring them. The 2 weeks Naruto was allotted for the mission were painfully long. Yamato gave us hell on earth. If we tried to take a walk, he would catch us and increase the load. I'm still surprised how I even got home, even if my legs refused to obey me after the training of this sadist. And then they announced to us that our commander had returned to the village with his team, and we went to meet them at the gate. We saw only 3 figures approaching the village gate, and she was not among them. That's what we thought. Until this procession entered the village territory. Naruto was still there, but she was unconscious with terrible wounds. It was clear that her fellow travelers were not in the mood for conversation. Itachi and Shisui, with Uzumaki in their arms, immediately set off towards the territory of our clan, but then. Itachi, go after Tsunade-sama. Fast. The brother, without asking questions, ran towards the clinic where the Sannin should be. And at that moment I was really afraid that I would not be able to ask for forgiveness from a person who did not deserve to be treated this way. End Sasuke's POV. Sasuke's POV. Itachi, go get Tsunade-sama. Fast. The brother, without asking questions, ran towards the clinic where the Sannin should be. And at that moment I was really afraid that I would not be able to ask for forgiveness from a person who did not deserve to be treated this way. End POV Sasuke. After Shisui's order to go after Tsunade, Itachi rushed to the clinic at all speed available to him, and only one thought was racing in his head: if only I could make it in time. If only it weren't too late, but for the 7th team. The phrase pulled the rug out from under my feet. The ANBU were just as surprised as the Genin. They found out about Naruto's return and went to meet her, but the ANBU could not even think that their beloved captain could return to the village with such serious wounds. And together with Itachi, all the ANBU went in search of Tsunade. For each of them, the life of this little girl was worth its weight in gold, and they would give everything so that the sun would not fade away next to them. And Shisui himself went to the Uchiha hospital and waited for Senju to arrive there, next to Uzumaki. From the moment the 7th team met the captain and saw the consequences of the task, they did not move a single step. They were so stunned by what they saw that they did not notice how they were left alone. For the first time in his life, Sasuke felt guilty for the events that had happened. He was afraid. He was afraid until his knees trembled that this mistake of his would become fatal for another person, that he would not have time to ask for forgiveness for his unfair attitude towards her. Naruto never told anyone how hurt they were by their words, she never showed her weaknesses in their presence, and always kept everything to herself. It always seemed to them that she didn't care about their attitude towards herself and her training. Uzumaki never forced them to show up for training, and looked at their antics casually. And it seemed to them that this was how it should be until she left on a mission. From the moment she left on this ill-fated mission, everything turned upside down. They learned to appreciate their captain only after meeting Yamato. As they say, everything is learned by comparison. This is what happened to them too. If Uzumaki did not insist on their appearance at training, then with Yamato they had to appear at training every day. If Naruto explained everything in an accessible language with a demonstration, then Yamato only once talked about the operation of the technique and what seals needed to be made. And then who would do what? That's how Team Number 7, or rather the brilliant trio, realized that they couldn't find a better captain in the whole world. It's just a pity that this simple truth reached them too late. Senju, as soon as she found out about Naruto's condition, immediately went to her aid. The operation was long, complex, and chakra-intensive. Not much was required from the doctors. Almost all external injuries were healed by the fox, and they were left with internal injuries. The operation was successful, but no one was allowed to see Uzumaki yet, since she was unconscious. Bloody Titania spent almost 2 weeks in an unconscious state. During this time, her body completely recovered. When she came to her senses, the first question she had was, "Grandma, tell me, no one else was hurt?" This was said in a very hoarse voice, and she received a negative answer. "I'm glad that no one was hurt," and burst into tears. At this time, Itachi and Shisui came to visit her. They ran into Naruto's team near the door to the clinic. This is how they entered the room. The older Uchihas were overjoyed. Finally, their little Haim has come to her senses and they can ask for forgiveness for not helping her during the task, for which they received a bouquet that they themselves brought. The 7th team did not dare to move. They did not know how best to start a conversation. "So why are you frozen on the threshold?" she asked. At that moment they died. "Forgive me, Naruto-sensei," said Sai. "What are you apologizing for, Sai? You didn't do anything to me, did you?" Sai couldn't find an answer to these questions, so he simply remained silent. "So be it, forgive me," Sakura said arrogantly. "I'm very sorry for my unworthy behavior, Uzumaki-sensei," Sasuke said in an apologetic tone, bowing, anxiously awaiting his captain's answer. When I heard the apology from Sai and the representative of the proud Uchiha clan, I was extremely pleased that they realized their mistake. But Sakura, this pompous girl infuriates me like crazy. I'm eager to kill you. But I was not ready to forgive them. It was too painful for me to hear those words from my students, so I turned to the window without saying anything. I thought for a long time what I should do with them, and then one crazy idea came to my mind, not mine, but Kurama's, but these are little things that shouldn't be paid attention to. Guys, I'm not ready to forgive you now for everything you've done. They were taken aback by this news. But tomorrow you will come to our training ground and watch the ANBU training, and I will lead the training. Then I thought a little, although it wouldn't hurt for me to train either. So, Itachi, Shisui, tomorrow at the 3rd training ground, gather our team. I will conduct a training session for everyone. Otherwise, you've relaxed, I'm not here, so you can give up training? Things won't work that way. The 2 senior Uchiha representatives neighed like horses, but still answered. As you wish, Captain. This is Itachi. When should we collect ours? Shisui. By 9, everyone should be at the training ground. Latecomers will be punished. How, I haven't figured out yet, but you know that I have enough imagination for everyone, and not one will be repeated. Yes, they answered in unison. I didn't talk to my genin team anymore that day. I asked the guys to kick them out of here, citing the fact that I didn't want to see them anymore today. Only Sakura was indignant at my statement, the rest understood and did not bother me. The only thing is that I asked Shisui and Itachi to stay for a short time. I needed to talk to them. Honestly, this was the first time I allowed myself to be a small and weak girl in front of my friends and family. Yes, over the past few years, the Uchihas have become my only family, since I didn't know my parents. For as long as I can remember, I was always alone until I joined ANBU. These people became my friends. I could spend hours with them, chatting about nothing, without affecting work. I could ask them for advice when I didn't know what to do best or doubted Kuenai's advice. After all, he can be wrong too. I remember that they helped me calm down and I fell asleep, sleeping peacefully until the morning. In the morning I woke up cheerful and completely rested. Grandma Tsunade examined me before releasing me from the hospital. At the exit, a trio of Uchihas were waiting for me, who escorted me to the training ground and got into formation. My team was very happy that I was finally discharged and we could train together, but before the training began, I said, "Before we start, Haku, Zabuza. Get in line." Yes. I heard from those named. First there was a regular warm-up, then I arranged sparring sessions between them, and after each pair stopped, I gave advice on improving their physical fitness or how to more effectively use this or that technique. In the end, everyone received their advice, and then I sent them in pairs on a D-rank mission for relaxation. The genin who stood back to watch the training were amazed at how the little girl handled shinobi older than me. I deliberately left Alan, Itachi and Shursui to spar with me, since it wouldn't hurt to stretch their bones. We started the fight. The three of them attacked, and I fought back and delivered precise targeted strikes at the right moment. The only thing I didn't take into account was that the guys would return from the mission so quickly. But these are the little things in life, because they did not interfere in the course of the battle. We ended up in a draw, but we were happy with the work done, although I scolded Alan for a couple of taijutsu techniques, but the training ended well and everyone was happy, if you don't take into account the genin present at the training. I hope at least now they will understand that I am a good teacher and captain for their team. For 2 weeks, Naruto tried not to pay attention to the genin of her team at all, pretending that they did not exist at all. Sakura hasn't gotten any wiser in these 2 weeks. Just as she tried to touch Uzumaki's nerves, she continues to do so. True, there is one difference from what was then and what is happening now. If before she didn't get anything for insulting Naruto, now she got it in return, but not from the captain, but from her faithful team. Sasuke. Well, there is nothing to talk about him at all, since he either did not come to training or slept on the nearest tree. In short, nothing stood out. Sai, he was constantly drawing, reading or writing something. In general, he didn't really get on my nerves either. The only thing she did for her team was to send them on a mission together with the ANBU, warning them, ANBU, in advance not to help the genin too much, which they did with great pleasure. What can be said about the genin themselves? Well, they didn't understand their captain at all, and if Sasuke and Sai tried to do this through observations, then Sakura did not share their zeal. She still believed that they needed another captain, so she somehow voiced her thoughts to her teammates. As a result, the next day, the 15th day of Naruto ignoring them, they went to the Hokage with a request to change the captain. Of course they came to the office, but they refused to be allowed in. Then one of them came up with what they thought was a brilliant idea. They decided to enter through the window. No, well, can you imagine this? They approached the edge of the roof, on the side where the windows of the village head's office look out and go down. But here a problem arose: they don't really know how to control their chakra, and there's no other way to descend. In short, the 7th team came to the conclusion that they had missed the captain's training in vain, and if they appeared in her field of vision, they did not listen to what she was trying to tell them. The whole thing ended with them going down, but there was someone there. This someone turned out to be their captain. So suddenly the idea came to eavesdrop on their conversation. Naruto, did something happen? Yes, it happened. I can't handle my team. They don't attend training, and if they do, they refuse to do anything. After the mission from which I returned with severe wounds, I decided that they would come to their senses if I showed them my training with the ANBU team, but this did not help either. I ask that you remove me from the position of commander of the 7th team and return me to the ranks of ANBU, restoring my rank as squad captain. Are you sure about this, Naruto? Yes. You know that I don't force anyone to listen to me. If you need knowledge, I will give it to you. But if you start to show selfishness and try to prove that you are more experienced than me, then please do not bother me with your presence. I hate those who imagine themselves to be gods. I'll think about your request, but on one condition. Which one, Hokage-sama? Try to establish contact with them. Take them on a C-rank mission with you. Maybe when they see you in action, they'll come to their senses. How do you think? Well, I think it might work, but if it doesn't work out, then I'll go back to ANBU. Fine. Then here's a task for you. What kind of task? Nothing complicated. We need to destroy a couple of Nuke-nin who stole some kind of figurine or jewelry from the daimyo's wife. Can you handle it? Certainly. That is great. Don't forget to warn the 7th team about this. Hiruzen said goodbye. This is where the story ends.